So, this practice of setting intention, whether it's for a new year or for any sort of endeavor that you're interested in creating, whether it's a relationship or a job or a new project, um, a home, right? We can actually set the space for what we want to create energetically in regards to what it feels like, what it looks like, um, who it's shared with, and so on and so forth. So, in order to do this, it helps to be able to bring an awareness to identify the impulse behind what you're creating. Like, where is it coming from? Because this makes a difference to the quality, the longevity, the fullness of your manifestation or creation. Um, And so, in other words, this is a process where you can ask yourself, what is driving me in my desire? Is it pain? Is it fear? Is it lack? Or, on the other hand, is it empowerment, joy, expansion, and so forth? And this is usually a good sign of not only if what you're wanting to create will actually be fulfilling to you on a soul level, but um, also if you're operating out of the past. So I'm going to say some more about that if that's confusing. Just hang in there with me for a little bit. But the way I suggest and the way I've learned to do this for myself when manifesting is when you notice like a little tug or a push or a pull, um, and there's a distinction, a different feeling in your body between a tug, a push, and a pull. So I invite you to write those down. A tug, a push, or a pull. They're different sensations and they come from different places. So one way you can do this, if you're not sure, is to close your eyes and stop for a moment to arrive in your body. You can put your hand on your chest. It kind of helps you bring your awareness into your body to be present, to arrive in your body, because a lot of us are out in the world ahead of ourselves or stuck in the past. So we want to bring ourselves to right here, right now. And so sometimes placing your hand on your chest can help you do that, as well as taking a couple of deep breaths in your nose and out your mouth. And another one. Breathing all the way to your abdomen and then releasing all of the air one more time. Creating space for yourself and your body to be there. And then turning within yourself to ask gently, what is pushing me? Or another question, what is pulling me? What is calling me? And I invite you, after you ask each question, to stop a minute, take your journal out, and go ahead and just write. Because a lot of times we don't know what we know until we put it on paper. It creates sort of like a space between our ego mind, which is constantly knows everything, and our subconscious, where we actually manifest from. So that is a tool that you can use. And If this is an ego desire, it's usually based on a fear of loss, um, getting in trouble, being punished, all of these sorts of feelings that we get imprinted with through our childhood, early childhood programming. Um, and this kind of will help you realize where you've been making your decisions from. And if they've actually been coming from the right place, not that we're bringing in judgment, but hopefully a level of discernment to feel the energetic difference in our body, because we are energetic beings. As you know, if you have read or studied about quantum physics, that every object that we see, including our bodies, are actually 99.9% empty space. The difference between a particle manifesting and a wave of potentiality is the energy which calls it into being. So we are an energy vortex, and we are vibrating at certain frequencies inside of our body, and a lot of most of it is unconscious until it isn't. So today I'm going to share with you some tools and practices that you can use to bring the unconscious into the conscious, which is the process of integrating our awareness. And that's exactly what I do as a coach, is helping people integrate all aspects of themselves, their mind, their body, and their spirit, um, together to make decisions like this. Like, this is our inner council. And a lot of us never had the guidance or the opportunity to create this inner resource for ourselves, to even know that it's available or there. And so we are living our lives from unrooted places, unstable places, emotionally and energetically, where we are often driven to different states of consciousness that are ungrounded, that are a level of trauma response. And I personally define trauma is any event, condition, experience that causes us to go unconscious, whether that's through a fight, flight, or freeze response, or we are triggered into a state from the past because there is an emotion or psychological situation or mental process that wasn't completed. And so we can't be present, um, because our body, our energy systems are always trying to serve us in um, reconciling and creating coherence, even inside of things that make no sense. And what I mean is, as a child, for example, when you're growing up and um, you are doing something that brings you joy and fulfillment, but perhaps your caregivers or the people around you are in their own, traumatic fight or flight freeze response. And so they can't be present to your joy or your expression. And so they might shut you down, um, or criticize you or blame you, um, because they don't have the capacity to hold it with you. And we take this personal, as a personal judgment about, um, our self-expression, or I'm not allowed to be joyful, or um, I can't say what I really think, or I can't share my gifts because it upsets people around me. When in fact it has nothing to do with you personally. But as children, we imprint this as um, all sorts of negative statements that aren't grounded in reality, but it might look that way to a child who has an undeveloped nervous system or is unclear about what's really going on with their parent because they don't have the skills to process at that level. And for most of us, or many of us, neither did our parents because they never had it modeled for them. So, with all that being said, not to get too far off topic, as you begin, for example, to set your goals or your intentions, I hate to use any of those phrases, but I want to say set your energy for what you want to create. It's important to be able to drop down into your own body, to tune into your own heart center, your solar plexus, your gut, right? That is the home or the house of our intuition in our body, our innate intelligence that we're born with, that is beyond thought. And I won't go into a lesson about that right now, but if you're interested, there's information to find out about your gut in regards to being the first place of response, not your thinking mind, but your body is actually the first thing to respond to situations, conditions, and energies before it ever registers in our thinking mind. And so this is really interesting information to have as you approach your own nervous system, your own biosphere, your own matrix of who you are as a self, as a system of self, and how that self may have been fragmented or disconnected for many reasons, a lot of them all related to safety, survival, a desire to belong, a desire to feel loved and accepted by the people around us. So this affects our ability to, as we get older, to fully connect with our passion, our desire, our dreams, our hopes, and our joys. And so when we go into, say, I'm going to create my intentions for the new year, part of your mind says, yeah, right. You know what happened last time you did that? You failed, right? So we have this dichotomy that's inside of us working against ourselves. So today I'm going to share with you, hopefully, a few strategies and practices you can use to circumvent that whole dichotomy that arises, that distracts us from even ever getting started creating or setting the energy in our space. So this is important to distinguish. So one of the first distinctions, besides the ones I've already shared with you, are when you think about something you would enjoy experiencing for the new year, I invite you to close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and focus on how that something, whether it's a project, a relationship, a new home, a job, etc., or taking an action, or being a certain way, being more confident, or earning a certain amount of money, notice how that actually feels in your body. So say, for example, you would like to create a new job. And you might notice that some anxiety arises in your body. Or you might notice, on the other hand, that a sense of freedom and expansiveness and warmth opens up in your chest, in your heart. And all of this is key information from your body, from your highest self, that is trying to give you information about where you are acting from, like what's fueling this impulse to create this job. Is it a fear of being unworthy? Is it a fear of not enough? Is it a fear of scarcity? And if it is, then that's probably not the ideal place for us to create an intention. Instead, we can go deeper underneath that sense of lack or fear or unworthiness and see what really wants to be seen. And out of that, um, we can connect more deeply with what we're really longing for. And it might not even be related to creating, for example, the new job. That's just something the mind made a connection with. Like, in order to feel freedom, I need to have a new job. Or in order to feel supported, I need to have a new job. When in actuality, that might not be what your soul is calling for at all. But because our mind is such a strong force and we're so identified with the thinking process, that we circumvent often how it feels, the energetic feeling in our body, which is really manifesting for us. So we can go ahead and follow that timeline of creating a new job, and we can create it. But when we do, the quality of that job is going to be mixed with what you brought, which is lack, fear, unworthiness. And I'm not saying it's all that. You might also have some really good aspects, but it's like that's one of my mentors calls it a bittersweet manifestation. So in order to avoid that or to step around that, because whatever we resist persists, so it's not something to be frightened of. It's an opportunity to learn about your energy and how it works in your body and in your life. Because we are highly attuned, energetic creatures that have been trained to think that we're less than that. And we see all the symptoms of that in our world today, sadly, and perhaps in our own life. So, the main question here is my spirit being driven by pain or expansion? And if the answer is pain, then I invite you to go underneath that, because we don't avoid pain. We can postpone pain. We can put it off. But it's usually the avoidance of pain that is blocking the very thing that we say that we desire. And so, as they say, the easiest way to it is through it. There's no walking around it, even though we might think that we can walk around it. When we get to that new job or that new relationship or that new home or whatever it is that we're creating, we bring everything that we are vibrationally with us. And for lack of a better word or a description, it affects our manifestation. And then we get frustrated and we're like, oh, this job just isn't fulfilling, or this relationship just isn't fulfilling. When we bring ourselves wherever we go, there we are. And so we can't avoid ourselves by leaving a job or leaving a relationship, and etc., etc. So the second aspect of this is actually a container or a practice for us to claim our power. And what do I mean by this? Well, this process of creating your intentions for the new year, while it is that, it is also a process more complex, because it's inviting you to practice coming back into harmony with your body, your mind, and your spirit, all the parts of you. And this is essential because in our culture, for many reasons, which I won't go into right now, we are taught unconsciously, energetically, this is transmitted, that in order for us to have what we want, We have to leave part of ourselves behind. We have to leave our mind behind. We have to leave our heart behind. We have to leave our feelings behind. We have to leave our spiritual values behind, because we were programmed in this belief system, believing that we couldn't have it all. And really what's underneath that is the echo of the belief, I can't be all that I am, which is a fundamental untruth or lie that creates duality, which creates a splitting off of ourselves from the essential ground of who we are that we need in order to effectively propel ourselves through the world. And so this is the catch-22, the fly in the ointment. This is the irony that Alanis Morissette speaks about in her song, Isn't It Ironic? Don't you think? If you don't know that song, you can listen to it. It talks about this very situation, and that we're creating at the same time that we're unconscious because of the belief that I can't have it all, which really, the deeper belief underneath that, as I said, is I can't be all that I am. And this is unconscious. We're not even aware we're doing it because it happens in micro doses. It happens in layers, and we forget. But our bodies and our nervous systems don't forget, and they're vibrating at a level of untruth because there's conflicting belief systems there that are creating bittersweet manifestations for us. So today, so this is the third part that I want to share with you today, is that the first step to wiggle in to those limiting beliefs, we wiggle down into our bodies, is to identify those limiting thinking patterns, which create limiting ways of looking at the world and then seeing ourselves and our lives and what is actually possible for us. Because for many of us, it's been based on a house of cards, an inaccurate relationship to reality that we all bought into. It was the price of admission in this world to join this reality that is based on a false premise. And the wounding behind that has kept people out of their consciousness, that have kept people from able to see their own participation in creating a world out of pain, out of lack, out of limitation. So the truth is that we are a highly repressed culture that demands that we slowly sell parts of ourselves, of our dreams, of our desires, till we become resigned and apathetic and begin to accept, oh, this is just the level of struggle and limitation and discomfort that I have to live with. It becomes normal because we look around and we see other people going, oh, well, look at them, you know. But what we're really seeing are the symptoms of what this does. And the symptoms are increased mental, emotional, and physical and literal dis-ease in our bodies. So while this workshop, this New Year's workshop that I led today was on creating your New Year's intention, creating your vision for 2023, it could be called creating your vision for your life anytime. because some of the tools that I shared with you are essential to shifting the place in which you're creating your life from. And that isn't particular to any time of the year. It's happening all of the time because we are creative beings and we're always creating. And if what drives us is the pain and the fear and the loss, or the avoidance of that, then that's what we're going to get. And instead, we get to start sinking into the fullness of all that we are. And this requires feeling, looking, and experiencing everything that you've been avoiding for your life. It's everything that's in the way that has caused you to dissect yourself, to carve yourself out, to cut yourself off into more acceptable pieces, into dysfunctional family patterns that were embedded in you when you became part of that family. It happens in the family, but the dysfunction is the wider culture. The family is where these become the dysfunction becomes personalized and installed through repetition, but is simply a reflection of the larger dysfunction of our culture that is in the process of many of us are being awakened to, so we can free not only ourselves, but our friends and our neighbors and our families and whoever else chooses a different way for themselves, because they see and they can feel that it is possible, perhaps for the very first time. And that is the meaning of true liberation, true, authentic love, and a sense of belonging. First and foremost, something like that. First and foremost, I can't remember how you say it, sorry. You have to belong to yourself. And many of us have been wandering out into the physical world, the material world, looking for those missing parts in mates, in jobs, in possessions, in control, in status. And those items, those expressions are never truly satisfying, because those will never fulfill what's missing or what never got developed or built internally because it wasn't allowed. So that's what I wanted to share with you today as you go about in preparation for your new year, and perhaps excitement and possibility of your unexpressed potential and opportunities and growth that you're interested. It starts with energy, and the energy is in your body. It's not out there. And so if you haven't yet, you get to learn to start being with your own experience without running away, without judging, without distracting yourself from your experience. And I'm going to be teaching more about this year. I have a couple of programs in the works. I also work one-on-one with people, and I will include the link to my calendar where you can book a 1-hour meeting with me where I can support you in untangling your life and coming back to center, coming back home to who you are. So I just wanted to mention that and wish you a very happy new year, 2023. And if you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comments or the description, however you're coming upon this video. And you can also reach out to me through my website, or you can create a free 20-minute chat with me. And I'll also put that link in the description of this video. All right, my friends, until next time, please remember what a valuable treasure you are. And lots of love for the new year.